welcome back to episode 6 of our Hollow Knight lore series here on the Game Movie Jerks. This will be a very speculative video as there is not a lot of information given about today's subject, the Collector. As always, major Hollow Knight spoilers ahead. The Collector resides in the Tower of Love, which is hidden away in the Kingdom's Edge and behind the old Stag Station, in King Station. We aren't quite sure why this place was hidden away, or why the whole place is padded and weirdly pink. We do know it was owned by a Hollow Knight aristocrat, who was found dead in the Queen's Gardens. This corpse gives you the Love Key, which is required to enter the Tower of Love. And when dream-nailed, it says, "Too long, spent together, we become as one." You can see void streaks coming from the corpse's eyes, implying it died from exposure to the void, which is what I assume it is referring to when saying we become as one, because the Collector is a void creature. The biggest mystery so far is certainly where the Collector came from and why. A pretty compelling argument is that he was a King's Mold. King's Molds were imprinted with the will to serve and follow the Pale King, and it is possible that the Collector was simply a prototype, a failed experiment. This failure would explain why he's, totally insane. I mean, all the weird laughing and obsession. It's kind of weird. Although another theory is that he was actually a later King's Mold, which would explain the more developed hands with fingers and the slightly different head. It might also mean that he is more powerful and intelligent, and possibly given more complex work than just protecting the king and his palace. That's pretty much the entire mystery, whether the Collector is obsessed with grubs and chooses to capture them, or if he was told to do so. This is where we have to get into the Grub side quest. In the game, there are 46 captured grubs to rescue, and I think we all know what happens to them once you get them all. The Grub Father eats all of them, but when you return, you can still hear them inside of him, so they clearly aren't dead. Getting the last grub also prompts the Grub Father to give you the Grubberfly's Elegy Charm. This charm gives you an achievement called Metamorphosis, and the charm description reads, "Contains gratitude of grubs who will move on to the next stage of their lives. Imbues weapons with a holy strength." With this information, I would say that the Grub Father eating all his children is actually the first step in a biological process of metamorphosis. What confuses me is how it is imbued with holy strength. Does this mean that they metamorphosize into what I assume to be a butterfly-like creature? They gain holy strength? Are grubs actually more powerful than we could possibly imagine? Here's where the entire mystery gets more, mysterious. A secret room in the Watcher's Spire contains a few tablets. The two in the back seem to be the same image, and it reminds me of something we'll get to later. The one in the front has two symbols that resemble the cage that grubs are kept in. Along with there actually being a grub in the Watcher's Spire, this information clearly links him to the Collector and his operation. My main question on this is, why? Well, when you think about it, they actually do have a few things in common. They're both aristocratic in some way, as Lurian owning his own spire, having a butler, and being the servant of the king, whereas the Collector lives in the Tower of Love, which was once owned by a wealthy aristocrat. They're also both connected to the Pale King. Lurian became a dreamer for the king, and the Collector was made by the Pale King in the workshop. Finally, they both have an obsession, or at least seemingly do. Lurian was obsessed with watching over the city, while the Collector is possibly obsessed with the grubs. Honestly, it kind of makes sense that they were paired up. One last piece of mystery is something called the Vitruvian Grub, which is what I was referring to when I said we will mention it later. It is a piece of art or something on a writing tablet in a secret room in the Tower of Love. Its design kind of reminds me of a Stag Station map, leading me to believe that it itself is a map. What reinforces this is that there are 46 dots or circles on the tablet. There also happens to be 46 grubs in the game, so it does make sense that each circle is the location of a grub. Overlapping this with the actual game map doesn't really reveal much, but that doesn't mean it can't be a map, especially considering that the Collector is insane. The next weird thing I see about this art is that the grub in the middle has 3 connected dots. The number 3 has already been shown to be an important number. The 3 dreamers, the 3 pale beings, 3 of the 5 great knights are still living, and of course the 3 queens in the game. Although it also looks like a pyramid, so it probably has something to do with the Illuminati or something. Either way, I don't know what it could possibly mean, and it might not be important at all. Another question arises here, though. Did the collector put these grubs in random places to hide them, or did he think it was part of a ritual? Did he even know about their metamorphosis? Why would he hide them throughout Hallownest in the first place? Was he actually scared of people finding his grubs and stealing them or letting them go? If he was scared, why and how would he even have gotten this impression? The entire situation is very mysterious and unexplainable. But I'll try my best to explain what I think happened based on what we do know. Remember that this entire explanation is just my speculation and absolutely, in no way, canon. First things first, I think the whole operation was indeed set up by the Pale King. I think he did so to try and stop the infection. Knowing the power that the grubs could possibly have, he sought to harness that power to destroy the Radiants. To do this, he made a new and upgraded King's Mold and put it to work capturing the grubs. However, during this process, the collector either went insane or started to truly care for the grubs. Either one of these explains why he hid them around Hallownest. Not knowing how their metamorphosis worked, he might have just tried hiding them from the Pale King to protect them. I personally prefer to think he went insane, because it both explains why he was paranoid and he hid them around Hallownest, and also the Vitruvian Grub. After hiding them, he made a map of their locations so he could come back to them if he needed. Though this map was probably poorly made simply because he wasn't quite right in the head and couldn't remember where he put all the grubs. At this point, the whole project had been ruined, so the Pale King tried to get it back on track by bringing in Lurian the Watcher. During this, I assumed the Pale King was also working on other things, such as raising the pure vessel. Then, Lurian the Watcher works with the collector to find all the grubs and make a proper map of them. They start traveling around Hallownest and get all the grubs back into one place. However, the operation is shut down after they find just 4 of them, with 3 of them going in the Tower of Love and 1 being left in the Watcher's Spire. The Pale King finishes raising the pure vessel and hatches the Dreamer's plan. He makes Lurian a dreamer, and the collector is locked away in the Tower of Love, possibly because of his insanity. Again, this is all just complete speculation and not canon. I would love to hear any other theories in the comments, and of course, I'll see you guys next time on the Game Movie Jerks.